Welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, the podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to talk about Caddo Lake. Now, this is a new horror mystery film. It was released yesterday. As I'm recording this, it is October 11th. It was released on the 10th. I just watched it tonight, literally finished it maybe 5 minutes ago, sat down to immediately film an episode because this one was so interesting to me. So I had not really heard that much about it. I think I saw maybe a trailer or two, kind of brushed it off, wasn't all that interested. Nothing about the trailer, in my opinion, intrigued me all that much. I don't know if the marketing for this just wasn't sure how to market it, and I can totally understand why now that I have seen the film. But I tuned into it because this one stars Dylan O'Brien, who I actually really enjoy. Some of you may remember him from The Maze Runner. I really enjoyed him from Death and Monsters or Love and Monsters, something like that. You guys are going to know exactly what I'm talking about, but it was sort of like where, ants and centipedes and stuff are extremely large. And then he's like traversing through all of these like monsters that are really just like insects. Anyway, I really enjoy him. I think he's a really good actor. And so I was like, well, that's interesting. I don't think that all of his movies are fantastic and great, but what I've seen him in, typically I have enjoyed. So I was like, hey, why not? I've got a couple of hours to kill. There was nothing else on my agenda. I'm waiting for other things to happen so that I can talk about them in the podcast. And so I thought, okay, I'll just watch this one. It is one of those movies, if I can explain it in any type of way, where when you turn it on, or at least this was my thought process, I was like, well, I can have this playing in the background while I'm doing other things. I can get stuff done around the house. I can surf on my phone, let's say, and I don't really have to pay all that much attention. And then sort of maybe 30 or so minutes into the film, I started to pick up on a little bit of what was going on, and I started to get really confused. And so I stopped because I was intrigued by this confusion. I started the movie over, watched it all the way through, and I have to say, I am not only very impressed by this one, but this might be one of the better sort of mystery thriller, mystery horror movies. I would consider it a mystery thriller. I don't think there's really anything that is a horror element to me in this movie. It's one of the better ones that I have seen in a while. It is quite interesting to me. I would put this one kind of in the same category as The Mayor of Easttown, if anybody has watched that. And I only put it in the same category because it took me a while, we'll put it that way. It took me a while to figure out what was going on in this film. I'm watching it, the way in which it plays out was so interesting to me. It is not the typical of how I've seen movies done. There is another one that I could compare Caddo Lake to, and I won't. Because if I give you the name of that movie, I feel like it will give away the premise of what's happening in Caddo Lake. So just know that there is another movie that probably will pop into your head if you watch a lot of films. There is another movie that will pop into your head that you'll be like, oh, that reminds me very much of this. And that is exactly what it did for me. So for anyone who has not seen Caddo Lake or has not even seen that much about Caddo Lake, this one stars Dylan O'Brien. He plays a character named Paris, and this is taking place obviously in Caddo Lake. There is a little girl named Anne who goes missing, and as her family is searching for her, these sort of strange events start to happen. This character of Paris has lost his mother. She died in a car accident. He's trying to figure out what caused the car accident and what caused this sort of terrible thing to happen. And the way that he is piecing that together puts him in track along with this missing girl in sort of a roundabout, very strange and unique way. And the way that these sort of two stories, the story of Paris and then the story of this missing girl, Anne, link together has to be one of the most interesting things that I I have seen. And what shocked me the most about Caddo Lake is that M. Night Shyamalan produced this film. Now, he didn't write it, which is probably why it was very well done, but he did produce it. And that tells me that at least he clearly knows a good story when he sees one. So Caddo Lake was just such an interesting premise to me. It is impossible, I feel like, to talk about this film without completely giving away spoilers and giving away what's happening in it. I was so impressed by everyone in this movie. There, like, towards the first bit of it, the first half of it, I was just like, great, this is another I have toxic parents and terrible things happen to me sort of situation. And then it took this twist and this turn that I was not expecting. It is one of those movies that genuinely surprised me, that genuinely, like, I couldn't figure out what was going on until the reveal happened. And that is one of those things that kind of reminds me of Mayor of Easttown, is that even though that was like a murder mystery type plot and this is a missing girl type situation, it was impossible for me to kind of figure out who the killer was in Mayor of Easttown. And in this one, I was like, what's happening? And I was starting to put things together as it was unfolding. And I was like, wait, okay, so he's here and this is there. And what does that mean? And who is this character and how are they connected? And it just was one of those ones that just like fires your synapses. If anybody is familiar with those types of movies, it is a movie that requires you to pay attention. It is a movie that requires you to make some effort in thinking about what's going on with this story. And those to me are hands down some of the best movies. If they could make more films like this, I would be so happy. Let's stop doing the remakes and reboots and rehashes of everything and stop making these movies that are just dumbed down, copies of something, and make more things like Caddo Lake. I was very impressed with this one. So I would highly, highly recommend it if you are looking for something that is just pretty dang cool to watch. And definitely let me know what you thought of it. So those are my thoughts on Caddo Lake. I would love to know, like I said, what you guys think of this one if you watch it. Subscribe to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.